Donald Trump's war on the deep state has entered a whole new phase, and this next move could change everything. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. On Friday, the Trump administration placed more than 100 staffers from the National Security Council on administrative leave. These staff won't be fired, but will be reassigned to other government agencies. But still, these staff cuts and other restructuring account for nearly half of the entire National Security Council, with the move being described as a massacre of the deep state. And the council that is being rebuilt from the wreckage is set to be made up of MAGA loyalists. Well, before I get into that, what exactly is the National Security Council? To put it simply, the National Security Council, or NSC, is the president's main advisory body for national security and foreign policy. It's the nerve center of the executive branch. It develops strategies to be used across other agencies like the FBI, CIA, State Department, and the Pentagon. And most importantly, it answers directly to the president. Most NSC staff actually work for these other agencies and are loaned to the NSC. And the staff has grown over time, from a dozen people in the 1960s to 350 people today, which is why some in the Trump administration have said that the NSC is just too big. Now, the reasons for having a group overseeing these agencies probably seems obvious. Agencies operating without any real accountability, oversight, or even public knowledge are often kind of bad. Take the CIA as an example. During the Cold War, the agency went just a little bit crazy. You had coups d'etats carried out often with minimal input from the White House in places like Syria, Indonesia, the Congo. There were also successful attempts to control the media with Operation Mockingbird. Dozens of major news agencies and possibly hundreds of journalists were pushing CIA-approved narratives. And don't forget all the experiments with LSD. So much LSD. Although on that note, maybe the CIA wasn't so bad. After all, we got some really excellent Beach Boys albums out of it. But anyway, by the time of President Eisenhower, many really important decisions weren't being made by the person the American people elected. Instead, much of it was under the control of people like then CIA Director Allen Dulles. That is, until he was eventually fired by President John F. Kennedy. Kennedy. Whatever happened to him? So, feeling perhaps some justified paranoia, President Richard Nixon took aim at the intel community. Specifically, he tried to reroute the agency's power through the National Security Council in a top-down system. Rather than letting the agencies do their own thing, Nixon issued National Security Decision Memoranda, or NSDMs, with the expectation that the agencies would follow his orders. Major initiatives like opening to China were not made due to input from the CIA, the Pentagon, or even government diplomats. Instead, they were the product of Nixon, his national security advisor Henry Kissinger, and their personal back channels. Obviously, this strategy didn't make Nixon any friends with the establishment. In the end, those agencies, DC power brokers, and connected journalists really managed to
sock it to me.
But back to the present day. Trump finds himself in a similar situation as Nixon. His conflicts with the intel community, defense agencies, and media are well documented. Whether it was defense officials slow-walking Middle East withdrawals during his first term, a CIA analyst triggering his first impeachment, the FBI knowing Hunter Biden's laptop was real but not confirming it, leading social media to suppress the story, or former FBI Director James Comey's seashells, which earned him a visit from the Secret Service. Clearly, the man has a lot of enemies. Even worse, many calls have come from inside the House, specifically this one. As a result, the first part of Trump's shakeup at the National Security Council was his dismissal of National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. This was likely due in part to Waltz inviting the Atlantic's editor-in-chief to a private signal chat with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and other top officials. But more concerning, there were also reports that Waltz had gone behind Trump's back to discuss possible strikes on Iran with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, Netanyahu denied that, and Trump didn't fire Waltz, he just reassigned him to be the UN ambassador, perhaps a fate far worse. But with stuff like this going on, Trump needs to get control over the National Security Council if he's going to have any hope of wrangling the other agencies and getting his agenda through. And that's what this shakeup is all about. Marco Rubio has since assumed the role of acting national security advisor. And this kind of downsizing and consolidation is happening all across the government. Rubio in particular is now not only national security advisor, but also Secretary of State, administrator of USAID, and head archivist. I swear, this guy is collecting more titles than a Crusader Kings player. Still waiting on Marco the Little, Earl of Kent, Elector of Saxony, Prince of Antioch, and heir to the throne of Kissinger I. But again, like with Nixon and Kissinger, this push to centralize executive decision-making is bound to cause some chaos for the establishment. Many within the old guard are absolutely howling. Many are calling the changes callous, unprofessional and reckless, and profoundly dangerous. Granted, the sudden reorganization likely will cause some issues, at least temporarily, as foreign leaders rush to establish new lines of communication and the remaining staff take on assignments from those who were let go. A lot can happen in just a few weeks. But if the alternative is leaving matters of state up to unaccountable agencies, well, God only knows. So what do you think? Will these changes help Trump get control over the deep state? Or will they 86-47? Leave your comments below. I will also take this opportunity to remind all of you that I am not depressed, have no thoughts of self-harm, and I never lean against windows inside of tall buildings. Just thought you should know. And if you want to support more episodes, we do have a Patreon at patreon.com/America Uncovered. You can just click this orange button. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.